We are here today to talk about the issue of the immigration court system, something that is of vital concern to anybody who is in removal proceedings. This is critical to so many of the AILA members who practice immigration law. And now, with a case backlog of more than 1.7 million cases before the immigration courts, it means that cases are severely delayed and immigration courts are in urgent need of reform. I'm here with Jeremy McKinney, our president-elect, to talk about the issue. Jeremy, there's a lot actually going on this week about immigration court reform. In particular, Congresswoman Zoe Lofgren of California has her bill, the Real Courts Rule of Law Act, being marked up in House Judiciary Committee. Tell us what's going to happen and tell us about the bill.
Thanks, Greg. And I am so pumped about this. After years of advocacy from our members and our coalition partners, this year we finally got a bill introduced in the House. It's called the Real Courts Rule of Law Act of 2022, and it's scheduled for what's called a markup this week. And so that's where the committee really rolls its sleeves up and does the hard work of fine-tuning this bill. So ultimately, we get a committee vote and then a vote on the House floor. The bill itself establishes an Article 1 independent immigration court. So when we say Article 1, that's Article 1 is Congress in the Constitution. So this is a congressionally created administrative court system. It's like bankruptcy or the military courts, tax court. These courts exist to help adjudicate claims within their specializations, but they are administrative in nature. And they're not Article 3 courts with like lifetime tenure for judges. And so that's why we've got a group of coalition partners that are nonpartisan. This bill is nonpartisan, and I'm hoping that we can work together to get bipartisan support and get it passed.
That's such a great summary, Jeremy, and it's exciting that there is this institution building bill that is now going to get marked up and actually looked at in the House. Why is having this so important? What's been the problem with the courts for all these years that they've already been in existence and they've been, I guess, functioning within the Department of Justice? Why do we need this?
Simply put, the immigration court system is an arm of the Department of Justice. Therefore, it is always subject to the political motivations of whoever is occupying the White House. So because of partisan influence over what is supposed to be an independent process, independent and neutral process, you see presidents and justice departments of both political parties manipulating the immigration court system. We need neutrality, and we need a common sense, evidence-based approach to adjudicating these life or death cases.
Thanks, Jeremy. Yeah, and I really heard in your comments the importance of the history of what's happened with the courts, pointing to the need for this neutrality and the fact that it's not just a particular administration, but going back many administrations, be it Republican or Democratic, where you've seen presidents use the courts because they has control over the courts through the Department of Justice to put forth their policy interests within the executive branch. And I will highlight that an important part of Congresswoman Lofgren's bill is that it is very much intended to be a nonpartisan bill. It's very much free of any kind of immigration policy goals, except for the overall purpose of making the courts an independent entity. So give us a little background here, Jeremy. Did this all just happen in 2022? How did we get here to the point of having this bill? And there's a little bit of humor here in terms of AILA's long history of working on it. But Jeremy, tell us about that.
Well, you know what? To do so, Greg, if you'll indulge me, I'm just going to tell my own personal story within AILA leadership. The first time I served on the Board of Governors was between 2008 and 2010. That is the first time that I read about the issue. The ABA during that period of time had put out a immigration kind of a report card. It was this comprehensive report, and that was the first time that I read about the dysfunction in immigration court and in an academic context or an advocacy context, because previously I just experienced it as a practitioner. But really saw a call for immigration court independence. Now, if we go back during that time, that is when in 2008, Barack Obama was elected, right? And so we went from a Republican administration to a Democrat administration, and no one seemed really interested in looking at this subject. And so it honestly just seemed like a fantasy, like something that would never happen. Fast forward to the next time I was in AILA leadership, and we saw the election of Donald Trump and his appointment of Jeff Sessions as Attorney General. Suddenly you saw the end of administrative closure for immigration judges. You saw a dramatic re-rendering of asylum law, just basic fundamental things like domestic violence and gang-related cases, family ties being a social group, something that binds us, kinship ties, suddenly coming into question. And you saw how the current system could easily result in abuse and an end to immigration judge neutrality. On top of that, what you saw were the immigration judges themselves were closely monitored by the Department of Justice. And they were put on basically quotas. They had to keep pace with a certain number of cases during a particular period of time. And it was tied to their performance evaluations. So all of that manipulation comes directly from the administration, who occupies the White House, and the partisan appointment that is appointed as Attorney General.
I really appreciate that kind of personal history you just gave about. And one other marker that I'll just mention during the time of which you've been in our executive leadership is that just a few years ago, in 2018, our board passed a resolution calling for a bill to be passed, doing exactly what Congresswoman Lofgren's bill proposed in 2022 now for the creation of an Article I independent court. So that's why AILA supports it so much. And I will also just reference, Jeremy, that you testified 2 years ago now in 2020, when there was a hearing on this in the same committee. And we were glad to hear there was a follow-up hearing back in January of this year, 2022. So there's been a steady, progressive, real action being done, much of which AILA has been behind. That's why we're so excited that we've got the markup happening this week in April now, and we hope it'll lead to next steps. That, I guess, takes me to the other maybe final concluding question, which is what are the next steps and what can AILA do and what can AILA's members do in the upcoming weeks and months to try to advance this issue?
Two simple things, Greg. Number one, we're looking for Republican co-sponsors. Right now in the House, we have approaching 40 co-sponsors for this bill, but they are all Democratic. We're looking for Republicans because this truly is a nonpartisan bill that impacts the courts and its neutrality, regardless of who sits in the White House. Number two, we're looking for senators to introduce a companion bill and get this process going in the Senate. Now, what can AILA do about it? Well, we are AILA. Our members need to go into action, basically talking to their representatives, talking to their senators about Representative Lofgren's bill. And let's try to build some momentum behind this bill so we can get it passed.
That's the right clarion call to arms here for all of us, Jeremy. And as you were saying, we referenced a couple of times, this bill is meant to address an institutional reform piece, and it's hard in our current political environment to get bipartisan support on anything that has the letter I, immigration, in it. I hope, as I know you do, that members of Congress on both sides of the aisle will see that this is not a policy push on immigration that is either on the right or the left, politically speaking, but that is very much the building blocks for a court system that functions and will do well no matter who is in office or no matter what the political party perspective is. So thank you, Jeremy, for taking this time. I know this is an issue that's super personal to you. It's also personal to me. And you've done such an incredible job on removal issues and leading these efforts and having testified. So I'm looking forward to next steps here, and I hope that we can bring this one home this next year and get a bill passed.
Happy to be in the trenches with you, Greg. Thanks.